a specific law that was being brought out that should be able to punish these IOCs when they don't meet up some of these things. Is it that the system pays a blind eye to those laws or the defaulters? And that is one. It's a two-in-one question. And the second one happens to be an issue of the third-party trust of some sort now between the communities and the IOCs. Sometimes when people even talk about this community, when they get the monies down to the communities, we don't see the immediate effect of those amount of monies on the community. How does that change the situation on ground?
Okay, first I have to tell you that the communities are completely innocent. Okay? The communities are completely innocent in the sense that if today I want to deal with your family, I will be stupid if I go and pick a 12-year-old daughter of yours, okay, and give 20 million to, and say, well, I've given your family their money. Do you understand? So there are people who are supposed to hold these monies. There are people who are supposed to attend to these monies, and not everybody. If you have not seen $1 million before, and they give you 200 million to handle, you should understand that they have a crisis. But so far, communities are not giving monies. There's what they call an escrow account where the money is kept, and one of the key most signatories is Shell in this place. They are the ones who sign last. So if, for example, you decide to be a contractor, you win a contract, automatically you are a contractor. It doesn't matter where you come from, whether you come from Pluto or the moon or from Guarantor, it doesn't matter anymore. You're not a contractor that wants to get what? Profit, isn't it? Good. So as you come to do your job, your supervisor, which is Shell, that has the expertise, must ensure that it supervises well, isn't it? So if there is any failed project here, it means that Shell is culpable because they did not do their supervision correctly. If there is a phantom project, a project that never took off, but monies were fully paid, again, it is Shell who signed what they call work completion certificate for a job that was not done, and nobody has been fired. And I will ensure that they are all fired eventually. And then so these monies are paid, and they do what they call kill and divide. So it's not about community people. Why will you corrupt anybody? How many of those community persons have gone to jail? That is one aspect. The other aspect is the weaponization of our resources. Okay? The Shell has gotten so rich in the last 70 years that they have more money than even the government of Nigeria. They are the ones that pay the government. So they are richer than any community. They are richer than any kingdom. So they use those monies to get all the SANs of this world and consider any complaint of yours as an infraction, as an attempt towards stopping oil exploration. And so the government is very careful because they will say, if this thing happens, then there will be no oil money. Okay? And even when communities have tried, like this community has tried a couple of times to report cases to the police, they bribe their way out. You take them to court, they get all the sums. You win at the high court, they take it to appeal. You go to the appeal, they ensure that it stays for another 10, 15 years. Uruma community has just won a case. 30 years or thereabouts. Do you know what 30 years means? It's a whole generation. Generation is 30 years. So that is the level to which they use our money to also make us irrelevant. Because you can't stand them. It will take a lot, one, to be a little lucky to be like me. It's unusual to find me and then perhaps have the capacity to write a book and perhaps have the capacity to reach international NGOs and then have the capacity to go as far as going to Holland or America to sue Shell to come and be responsible for their atrocities. It's not easy. So to this extent, what you see is something that is well arranged. It's a kind of mafia arrangement. You must also understand that before now, until recently, the lowest person in terms of qualification employed from this part of the world into Shell was a young man or woman that had a first class. You must have a first class. I know that's why you're not a Shell worker. You must have a first class to be employed in Shell. So if you have the best PR persons in the world working for Shell, how can the community be a match? How can even Bayelsa State be a match? In recent times, didn't you hear of an election that they brought US PR moguls to come and stand for one party? What was the outcome? It's obvious. When you put a heavyweight boxing champion like Ali, okay, and you put a neophyte like maybe my little son Doifie to fight with Ali, the result is obvious. That is what you are getting. So what we are saying here is about the government of Nigeria, the federal government in particular, and of course bodies like yours, the press, to expose all of these atrocities to the world so that the civilized world will be shy because they are pretending not to know, meanwhile they know. Because when stolen crude or all of these monies are taken to their country, they as board members, they as shareholders are happy with the dividends. I can tell you today in secret that this is the place where Shell gets their highest amount of profit in the whole wide world. All the oil companies, this is the place in Nigeria because they don't follow the rules. Did I answer all the questions?
Absolutely, you have. Let me wrap this up now.
Okay.
Where do you think the government and the IOCs can come to the aid of these issues that we have already raised today?
When?
Where?
Of course, at all levels. As a matter of fact, a government ought to be a government. So the federal government of Nigeria ought to be a government of the people, and not to be in the apron strings of oil companies or oil moguls. So far, I can tell you that the federal government hardly knows how much oil is drilled, how much it is sold, and how much is not sold. It's difficult. They essentially are using their advantage as people who have the knowledge of oil and gas, I'm talking of the IOCs, to manipulate the country. So if today you become a people's leader in this country, you're not likely to last a year. As a matter of fact, before the elections, they look through all the candidates and ensure that they pick the one that will give them least resistance. That's what happens. So the federal government has to wake up. But above them, it is the journalists, okay? The journalists must tell the stories. I believe that most persons will be hearing what I've said here for the first time in their lives, which is not good enough. There should be more persons coming to get this information, take photographs, put them out there. The world is globalized. Let the whole world see that the European IOCs are good in Europe, but they are deadly in Africa. They are devastating in Africa. They are despoiling in Africa. They are environmental pollutants par excellence in Africa. That's what they are. So, if the world know that this your dog that pretends to be good in the afternoon is a wild mongrel when it comes to Africa, then I believe that some of them will call their people to justice. So this is a matter of the government standing its own ground, and people like you must put them on their toes for them to be themselves, do what they're supposed to do. This second fiddle position of the federal government is not good enough. Where NNPC, where DPR, for example, is regulating nothing. I hear they've been dissolved. But they're regulating nothing. That is why there's pollution everywhere. Today, with the PIB bill passed, do you know that gas flaring is supposed to continue forever? Because what they put there is that you pay sort of a penalty like royalties. Okay? So if it is like royalties, what does it mean? It means that it has to just go on forever. I've written a book, so I'm getting royalties. It goes forever. That is what they have said. There is no date. Before now, they had one date, and then they shifted the date, another date, and they just pay one small money, and then they keep going on polluting us. Ordinarily, my skin was supposed to be much better than this. What you are seeing now is an aberration of what I used to be. And it's the same story for most of us here. Okay? Because of the effect of the flaring. So the government ought to be a government for the people. Not a government for oil's sake. Not a government that wants the people dead or do not quite care. We are not cared for. If you take a flight from our first and only airport, you will cry. You will cry when you see our communities from the air. They don't look like communities. They look like something else. And no wonder in recent times the security agencies have been bombing the communities, calling them camps.